All right, I'd like to call to order this meeting of the Sacramento First 5 Commission for Monday, August 5th, 2024. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Yes, sir. Chair Cerna.
Here.
Commissioner Wesley.
Yep, here.
Commissioner Fernandez y Garcia is out today. Commissioner Gordon.
Here.
Commissioner Casirier.
Here.
Commissioner Katari. Don't see her. And Commissioner Wirtz is also out today. Commissioner Kennedy is out as well. Commissioner Hassett.
Here.
Commissioner Williams.
Here.
Commissioner Evans.
Here.
Commissioner Gross.
Here.
And looks like Commissioner Callejas is out. And that brings us to Commissioner Moak.
Here.
Awesome. Thank you. We have quorum.
Great. And if you could please read our statement.
This meeting of the First 5 Sacramento Commission is cablecast live on Metro Cable 14, the local government affairs channel on the Comcast and AT&T UVerse cable systems. This meeting is closed captioned and live streamed at metro14live.saccounty.gov. Today's meeting replays Friday, August 9th at 2 p.m. on channel 14. This meeting can also be viewed at youtube.com/metrocable14.
Very good. If you would please rise and join me in the pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Right. So again, I'd like to welcome everyone to today's First 5 Commission meeting. Let's start with maybe introduction of special guests. Carmen, you want to introduce your special guest? All right. Welcome.
Oh, she's a baby. She was a baby.
She was a baby, like yesterday, but no. Very good. Again, I want to welcome everyone and just remind folks that if you intend to address the commission, you're certainly more than welcome to do so. We ask that you please complete a speaker slip and give it to our clerk. I will call those speakers in the order I receive the slips in, and we ask that you keep your comments to 3 minutes. That way everyone has a chance to address the commission if they so wish. So with that, we'll get to our business at hand. What's our first item?
Item 1 is the approval of June 3rd, 2024 draft action summary.
All right. Any commissioners wish to make any suggested changes? If not, I'd entertain a motion. Chair will move. Is there a second?
Move to approve. Second.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded. Roll call vote, please.
Chair Cerna.
Aye.
Commissioner Wesley.
Aye.
Commissioner Williams.
Aye.
Commissioner Gordon.
Aye.
Commissioner Casirier.
Aye.
And Commissioner Moak.
Aye.
Thank you so much. Motion passes.
Very good. Thank you. We're on to separate matters. And again, this is the public's comment or public's opportunity to comment on items not on the agenda. And I am not in receipt of any speaker slips, so I assume we don't have any interest.
I don't have any.
All right, very good. Next item.
Item number 3 is the Executive Director's Report.
Julie.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Great to see you all. Happy Monday. I've recruited help for the Executive Director's Report, and I'm going to hand it over to Erin to start off with our communications updates.
Erin.
All right, good afternoon, Chair Cerna and Commissioners. Today we welcome you bearing gifts. You'll see by your chair, you all have a First 5 swag bag. So as representatives of First 5, as Commissioners, Advisory Committee members, you now have a First 5 shirt, a crossbody bag, and so when you're out in the community, you can fully represent First 5. And I have to say, Chair Cerna, you are only one logo away with your shirt today.
You're like
By
almost
having a
on
First 5
brand.
logo.
Oh, I-
Because our shirts, as you can see, staff in the audience, we're all wearing black polo shirts with the logo on it. So also included in your bag is a pen, a sticker, which Latina will show you. It's for your laptop or water bottle. It's all the rage to be there or put it wherever. And that design was courtesy of Latina. And then last but not least, in your bag is a finger puppet. okay?
It wouldn't be a true First 5 Commission swag bag without one.
Right?
Really, when you're working hard and you need a reminder of all the good work you're doing for children and families, you put on this finger puppet. It's going to make you smile, and it might take a little stress out of your day.
Just make sure you use the right finger. You know what I mean?
I did have to practice because on a very bad day, it
Could
can
be
switch
misinterpreted
fingers.
otherwise.
But children do love them. Along with this swag bag for our commissioners and advisory, we continue to provide our partners with great interactive items for children, books, placemats, growth charts, dry erase quality time boards. So if you ever need any to get out to families, just let me know. And also let me know if you need a different size of your T-shirt. And we hope you enjoy them and wear them to every commission meeting from now on.
All right. Very good. Thank you for that.
Moving on to the 21st anniversary. Because you can see by our logo, it's our 25th year. And the Sacramento region, it's comprised of 9 First 5s, and we are in the beginning of stages of planning our 25th anniversary event. So the region unanimously agreed to make this a commissioner and advocacy networking half-day event. And we're looking at it as to have like a keynote speaker, panel speakers, and a breakout. And we figured this would be a great opportunity to get the 9 regions together with the commissioners and learn from each other about the sustainability and leveraging efforts that you've been doing over the past 25 years, build that passion for our collective mission, and cultivate the champions that you all are. So we are working on an invite. As soon as we know, we'll save the date for we're calling it maybe our regional power building summit. So we're looking for November, and we'll let you know. Next, I'd like to highlight again about our Parent Leadership Training Institute graduation. So last commission meeting, the graduates were here to present their program. Well, in that same week, we had their graduation at the Sac State Alumni Center. We had a total of 31 graduates, both from the English and Spanish cohorts. They were joined by their families, their children, and it was just a heartwarming and inspiring event. Many of our PLTI alumni were present there just to cheer them on and give them support. And I want to thank a few commissioners. Commissioner Gross was there, Wirtz, Fernandez Garcia, and advisory committee members were there in attendance. And it was a really great event. So this is our second round of PLTI. It was made possible from our partners Lead for Tomorrow, Public Health, HealthNet, Anthem, Mutual Assistance Network, and La Familia. But most of all, we would like to give thanks to First 5 staff Alejandra Labrado, who was truly the visionary between PLTI, and I believe she's here in the audience. Yep. And moving forward on the third round, the Sacramento Children's Home will serve as the new PLTI coordinator. So last but not least is our social media engagement. So we are partnering with a new social media vendor, Louise Taylor with Insomniac Media. We're switching directions to focus on parent partnership mentoring and to concentrate on community and parent partnership. So our goal was to work to increase that engagement through dynamic interactions and embrace more of a grassroots presence through videos and interviews with parents, partners, community leaders, and champions as is yourself. So I will conclude this report with a social media reel, and it is from our new vendor. It's capturing highlights from the PLTI graduation and their presentation here. This is just a sample of what's going to be on our social media platform reels. Please note that this is for social media, so has a vertical screen, and I would say it's best viewed on the screen in front of you. If you tap to the left, it will fill your screen up. Metro Cable, please cue the video.
I'm impressed with the investment that First 5 has been able to make in turning people who often feel as individuals that we have no power, learning how the system works. You can make a difference.
When I say power, you say to the people. Power! To the people! Power! To the people!
inspirational you all are, and it really gives me a lot of hope. Just know when you leave these chambers today that I think that all of us have we invest ourselves in hope for this community based on the great work that you're all doing. Very nice.
And that concludes the communications report. Please let me know if you have any questions.
All right. Any questions or comments for Aaron? Okay, not seeing any. Thanks again.
Oh, thank you. And I'm going to pass it over to my colleague, Latina Price, to give some ready updates.
Great.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm going to give you some updates on our ready work. We have a really robust section in this commission meetings ED report, and I'll start off by saying I'm really excited about our new partnership with our social media. Really looking forward to engaging more of our community and how we can use that platform when we launch our participatory grant making work, that will have that audience there ready for us to engage on that level also. And also your shirts, because we do want you all to be a big part of this grant making process moving forward, getting out into the community, doing outreach for us, and then, looking the part with your new polos on. So really excited about that. I'll start off by telling you about the event. On June 17th, this county's public health department hosted called Reimagining Community Engagement to Advance Health and Racial Equity. And in addition to sharing the highlights from this department's Health and Racial Equity Action Plan and that process, First5 Sacramento was one of the departments asked to highlight its racial equity work. So myself, along with Lindsay and Alejandra, presented on our racial equity work, including the approval of our resolution for racial equity and social justice. We talked about our strategic planning process, also centered in racial equity, and our Parent Leadership Training Institute. There were many county departments as well as community-based organizations in attendance for that event, and they all had an opportunity to ask questions during a panel discussion following all the presentations. So we are really happy to be a part of that and celebrating the work that that department did on their Health and Racial Equity Action Plan. Next, in your packet, you'll see that you have a 2-pager from the First5 Association, a snapshot of the networks and our collective First5's Ready journey. In addition, the site has an online version of this landing page, and you can click through and find the complete story highlighting what was learned during the 2-year process. I think it was from 21 to 23. They also highlight conclusions and recommendations out of that effort, and the information is both for internal and external audiences, so we really hope you get a chance to take a look at it and also share it widely with your networks. Next, we have our participatory grant-making process update. We are working with consultants on a weekly basis to launch this project. We expect to see the work plan outlined later this month, and that's with Touchstone Leadership Group. We are looking to host our initial focus groups to kind of get that panel of community members to guide this process in September or early October. We also expect to have more robust updates on the participatory grant-making process in future commission meetings because of the level of work involved and engagement, and we have them slated to present an update at our October commission meeting, so you'll hear more about where we are with that. And lastly, we have our internal capacity building work. We continue to work and identify trainings and professional development opportunities and other supports needed for staff to lead the Ready Plus CR work in our day-to-day. So we are continue to work with Pure Genius Consulting on that, and we will have more to share soon. And that concludes my report. I'll be happy to answer any questions if you have them. Thank you.
Thanks, Latina. Any questions for Latina or comments? Seeing none?
Just a couple other little highlights for you then.
All right.
last month held our very first Child Safety Forward community gathering. This is something new that the Prevention Cabinet and with First5 funding and the new strategic plan, we're going to annually have community gatherings where we bring together parents with lived experience in the child welfare system to kind of speak with our county leadership about what those experiences were like and how we can improve all of the various systems that these families interact with at the county. And so it was pretty amazing. It was a small group. There were about 20 parents. And we held it at the Maple Center. And we had this perfect agenda program written out and did not follow it at all. It was such an organic conversation with parents. Kim Pearson is here in the audience. I saw her here, as well as Stephanie Biegler, both there. And it was really a great opportunity for community to talk to somebody like at Kim's leadership level and really ask questions and get feedback and get resources. We had 4 PLTI graduates, many with experience in the system as well, who are there to share their experience and add to that conversation. I think the parents left. I feel like feeling more hopeful about what's happening in Sacramento County and with having greater trust in our various systems. So I thought it was a really good first dip of our toe in the water of community engagement in that way. I wanted to just say, I know I sent out an email right after this happened when the Board of Supervisors approved their 24-25 budget, and it did include $1.3 million for the court-mandated parenting classes that First5 had reduced or eliminated in this strategic plan. And a shout out to our chair, Serna, who really made that happen, and the support of Commissioners Kotari and Callejas. So super pleased to share that information. Those services will continue undisrupted. And then in your packet, and I won't go through this, but when we have these reports that don't make it all the way into a presentation item, but I think are still important, I always drop them into your packet. We did a 1-year report on our Building Strong Families program. That's the ARPA funding, and in partnership with our 9 family resource centers and 7 community incubators. And so just a really nice synopsis of the families that were served, what the greatest needs were, the amount of referrals provided, and follow up on those referrals. So some great information and highlights are in that report, and please do look at it at your leisure. I think Dr. K might actually have a couple additional highlights in the evaluation report. And then as far as the state budget, I think the good news, the best news here was, for us anyway, is that the CalWORKs home visiting program cuts that were in the May revise did not make it into the final budget in the way that they had been proposed. There was a $30 million reduction that taken from last fiscal year, which did not result in Sacramento County losing any money, because we are one of the counties that spends its dollars, and so funding was just returned from counties who didn't spend their dollars. And then there is a $25 million reduction statewide this year, but we also do not anticipate any reductions for Sacramento County. I believe that they're going to do that based on caseload, and our caseload is good enough to keep us whole. So, and that concludes my report.
All right, very good. Thank you, Julie. Any questions for our executive director? All right, seeing none. I assume we have no one signed up to speak on this matter.
No, Chair, we do not.
All right, then we'll move on to our next item.
Item number 4 is the advisory committee update from June 14th, 2024, and also appointing Javeed Ahmad to the immigrant population seat and appoint Keisha Harris to the Parks and Rec seat.
Okay, why don't we take care of business first? So we need motions to appoint both?
Please.
I'm going to handle the appointments together, so I would ask the maker of the motion to make that clear.
I'll move the appointments, Chair.
Okay.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Roll call vote, please.
Chair Cerna.
Aye.
Commissioner Wesley.
Aye.
Commissioner Williams.
Aye.
Commissioner Gordon.
Aye.
Commissioner Casirier.
Aye.
Commissioner Moak.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Very good, and congratulations to the appointees. Sure, please.
I just want to note that both of these are PLTI graduates, that Javed graduated from the Spanish cohort, though he is not a native Spanish speaker, and Keisha is from the English cohort. So just wanted to make that on the record.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
We are
All right.
building our advisory committee membership with our Parent Leadership Training Institute graduates, and it is an amazing full circle thing that's happening.
That's great.
Yes. And one day they will be sitting up there with you too. It's pretty cool. So yes, two of those, and both of them spoke here during that graduation presentation. So
Come a long way since belly dancing, have we not?
yes, we have.
Only Stephanie Biegler gets that, I think, and
I
maybe
got
2 or
it.
3 of you.
No, I get it.
Okay. Yeah.
And what was the other one? Butterfly?
Well, it was ice cream
Okay.
that we were giving at a library event, that we were providing a scoop of ice cream for all the families that came. Hard no on that. That was where the line was drawn.
Right. Yeah, this commission used to be comprised of some very different people.
Yep.
So I'll just say that. So who's giving is this the conclusion or beginning? Or
No, there's a small report to give, and I'm disappointed because our vice chair, Junior Goris, was planning to be here and couldn't make it. So I have a little bit that he had written, and I can read his update for you just briefly. So we met on June 14th, and the committee spent about 45 minutes with Commissioner Wirtz, who was our meet and greet commissioner that day, and really talked about his background in evaluation and in psychology and community activism, and the members just had so much back and forth conversation. It was really great. It was a really great conversation. They were super engaged, and he really gave more about the history of First5 too, which was cool. So he kind of brought on a whole group of people into the First5 world in a different way than we normally do at those meetings. So it was really wonderful. And then we were joined by April Jean and Stephanie McElmore-Bray to talk about participatory grant making process, and that was really wonderful too. Lots of discussion. They were asked to come back because we just didn't have time to answer all the questions and get into the way. Really, we wanted to brainstorm the ways in which the advisory committee could be helpful in engaging community in that process and bringing both CBO leadership and service recipient families into the communication and discussion around grant making. So we are going to do more of that. We meet next. We're meeting in August. Actually, we meet Friday, but we're not going to do participatory grant making until October. And that concludes the report.
Very good. Any questions or comments? And I don't have any speaker slips.
No, sir.
So simply thank you for the report. And I assume you're also going to give evaluation?
No, Dr. K is going to give evaluation of
Okay.
it. Or Dave Gordon is going to give evaluation that day.
Her look said
Sorry,
it all.
Dr. K.
All right, so we are on to the evaluation committee update.
Yes, thank you, Chair. The Evaluation Committee met on July 15th and received 2 reports, the Birth and Beyond Annual Report for 23-24. It will be presented later in the meeting. Secondly, the Building Strong Families Program report for the period of May 2023 to April 2024. This is a new program funded by the American Rescue Plan Act, ARPA, and it is a partnership between the county, First5, Sierra Health Foundation, and Birth and Beyond Collaborative through the Child Abuse Prevention Center. Some of the highlights of that report included providing referrals and connections to 805 unduplicated individuals in 795 families and 1,282 referrals. 72% of those referrals resulted in participants receiving services. The most common pressing concerns at intake were, number 1, housing, 32%, number 2, food and meals, 28%, and number 3, baby essentials, 24%. And the next evaluation committee meeting is scheduled for September 16th.
Very good.
So, Dr. Kay, anything to add? If not, if there are any questions.
Nothing to add. I'm glad that you had the report because I was panicking here.
Very good. Thank you, Commissioner Gordon. Any questions, comments? Seeing none, no one signed up to speak. Therefore, we will move on to the Financial Planning Committee update.
Yes. The Financial Planning Committee met on July 30th and established a quorum. We reviewed and listened to a report from staff regarding the fiscal year 24-25 revised recommended budget. No allocations were changed, and the committee was provided with updated information on fund balance calculations and the impact on the 10-year financial plan. A motion was made to make the updated changes, and the committee approved the revised recommended budget and 10-year financial plan, and this is item number 8 on today's agenda. Then the committee reviewed the commission's financial statements for the fiscal year ending June 2024, and a report was also given on each of the revenue sources. The committee was satisfied with the financial statements as reported and did not find any areas for concern. And that concludes my report.
Great. Thank you, Commissioner Hassett. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, no one signed up to speak. We will move on to item 7, which is our Systems Optimization and Sustainability Committee update.
All right, I'll give a report for that. We met on June 18th, and during our meeting, we elected to change our regular scheduled meeting to the second Wednesday of each month to accommodate everyone's changing schedules. Some of us are new, and then some of us just have evolving schedules. So anyway, we have moved that meeting date. We continue to have a standing agenda item that includes our policy and advocacy activities, which include our systems ready work, a lot of what Latina has shared with us today. And then what you already heard is that in the state budget, we have a 3-party agreement, thank goodness, because I work at that level actually, between the governor and the state legislature. And so it protected a lot of our safety nets for our families who are most in need and vulnerable to some of the things that they were suggesting cuts at first. So thank goodness for advocacy around that. And then our livable wage statement that is in all our contracts, we finally had a final version of that and reviewed that during our committee. And then, of course, you heard from Latina again around the GARE work around racial equity and how that's being included in Sacramento County, but also how that is also being included in the work that they do every day as a team, but also in our participatory grant making. So that also was finalized. And then our next meeting is on August 14th, which is next week at 10 o'clock. And that concludes our report.
Very good. Thank you. Any questions, comments? Okay, seeing none, no one signed up to speak. We'll move on to our next item.
Item number 8 is a public hearing, approval of the fiscal year 24-25 revised recommended budget and 10-year financial plan.
Good afternoon. I'm Kristen Scheiber, Chief of Administration for the First5 Sacramento Commission. Today we are reviewing and approving changes to the fiscal year 24-25 recommended budget and 10-year financial plan. There are no line item changes or adjustments to report. If you look at attachment 1, budget highlights, you will see that the budget figures for the expenditure and revenue amounts are the same as what was presented to the Commission on April 8th. What has changed are the carry forward fund balance and reserve release amounts. Due to reduced spending and higher than anticipated total revenue in fiscal year 23-24, the carry forward fund balance is estimated to be $2,328,466, a $1.3 million increase over what was originally budgeted for fiscal year 24-25. This increase in turn has reduced the reserve release amount. A reserve release of $1,309,172 is required, and additional financing above the anticipated revenues in the budget. Now, if you look at attachment 2, First5 Sacramento's 10-year financial plan, you can see that Proposition 10 revenue amounts have been updated to reflect the projections the state provided in May. The projections are around 1.3% higher than what was reported last year. This slight increase, combined with the higher than expected carry forward balance and reduced reserve release, has decreased the 2027 strategic plan allocation reduction by 8.9%, from 37.3% to 28.4%. It is hoped that this figure will continue to reduce as additional carry forward fund balance is realized in each budget year leading up to the 2027 strategic plan. This concludes my report on the fiscal year 24-25 revised recommended budget and 10-year financial plan. Are there any questions?
Thank you for that report out. Any questions? Yes, Commissioner Moak.
So just so I'm tracking the right way. So the strategic plan reduction for 27 through 30 reduces 28.4%.
It reduced to 28.4%. It was 37.3% previously. So we're moving in the right direction.
Yeah. And when does that start? When does that strategic planning process start?
Like tomorrow.
Yeah.
No, it's soon. And, by the end of this year, probably.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's all I have. Thank you. That's great work. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions for staff? Comments? This is a public hearing item, so I will open the public hearing. Any member of the public wish to address the commission on this item? Seeing none, close the public hearing and entertain a motion.
I'm happy to make a motion.
Okay.
This item.
It's been moved by Commissioner Moak. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Who was that? Oh, Commissioner Katari. I failed to mention, by the way. Commissioner Katari has joined us. Let the record show that. All right, we have a motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Chair Cerna.
Aye.
Commissioner Wesley.
Aye.
Commissioner Gordon.
Aye.
Sorry, Commissioner Williams.
Aye.
Commissioner Kassirier.
Aye.
Commissioner Katari.
Aye.
And Commissioner Moak.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Thank you. Next item, please.
Item number 9, approval of the updated 24-27 implementation plan.
Great. I've got this one. So the implementation plan, which is the sort of nuts and bolts of the strategic plan, was approved by the Commission 14 months ago. And at that time, we had some potential indicators listed because we hadn't worked through the actual strategies and built our RBAs, our results-based accountability evaluation. And we also had many of the section of the funded partners was left blank at that time because we needed to do our competitive bid processes, those RFPs, in order to award funding. So the updates in your packet now on the implementation plan will show all of the funded partners that have been approved and awarded through the Commission over the last 12 months. And it also includes the finalized indicators. And you will notice that there are still a couple areas in the implementation plan that say to be determined. And those are almost exclusively related to our ready work and some of the systems change work, which we are intentionally phasing in the second year. So we're doing that we're doing that community engagement work and some of that parent partnership work and some of the systems change stuff in order to build those contracts that would come to you again in early 2025. And this time next year, I think we can bring you the absolute final version of the implementation plan. But I just wanted you all to get a chance to see the work that's gone into it from 14 months ago to what it looks like now. So happy to answer any questions about any of that.
Very good, thank you. Any questions for Julie? Commissioner Moak.
Sorry, Sarah, since I'm in Steve Ward's seat, it's like I have all the questions. It must be something, it's something about this microphone.
Yeah.
Look, this to see all this way, as I was looking at it over the weekend, this is really a tough task to get all this synthesized into this kind of report with so many moving parts still some things, like you said, TBD. That was going to be a question, but you answered it. Yeah. It also just strikes me and makes me super proud of the things that seeing the percentage of the priority is so fascinating, because it's a good reminder for all of us about the time we should be thinking about as it relates to the effort and energy that goes into things with a certain priority. Even our attention and questions and like all of it. Like, I know we all probably want to pay a whole lot of attention and ask a billion questions about things that take up 1% of one priority, but goddamn, we shouldn't do that. So I love how it lays it out this way, and it really then makes it, we really need to thank some of these partners that continue to step up in the 18%, 25% more.
Right.
And some of them are in the audience now and work their behinds off to get these things done, and for us to see the results that we're seeing with very limited evaluation across the board. You can really see that. That really stands out. I know we don't maximize our evaluation number, and that's a choice we make, but what we're able to still get out of that is super impressive. So to the evaluation committee and to everybody that worked so hard to make this happen, it's phenomenal. Like, these are the things that you guys, especially staff, you should feel so proud about what you're able to manage to get this stuff out. And then, of course, what's such a reflection to the providers that are doing the work and getting this done every single day and year and beyond. So that's it.
Thank you for that. It is, I think the percentage idea might have actually been Lindsay's, who helped create this whole document and really took the lead on it. And we're always like, what do you think the commissioners want to see? Like, what would be really good for them to understand? So we thought the percentage, right? Like, how much is going into each of those 5 priorities. And and of course to the partners in the room, always. Kudos.
Well said. Thank you. All right. Any other questions or comments from commissioners? Okay. No one signed up to speak on this. We do need to approve the plan, the implementation plan. So is there a motion?
I'll move.
Okay. It's been moved by Dr. Kassiri. Is there a second?
Second.
I'm sorry, who was it?
Commissioner Wesley, second.
Thank you. All right. It's been moved and seconded. Roll call vote, please.
Chair Cerna.
Aye.
Commissioner Wesley.
Aye.
Commissioner Williams. Aye. Commissioner Gordon.
Aye.
Commissioner Kassiri.
Aye.
Commissioner Katari.
Aye.
Commissioner Moak.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Very good. Thank you. Next item, please.
Next item is a presentation on the fiscal year 23-24 Birth and Beyond Evaluation Report.
Great. So I would like to introduce the commissioners to Jessica Irwin. You used to sing Jordan Kati up here. Jessica works with Jordan and is going to lead our presentation today on the Birth and Beyond outcomes.
Very good. Welcome.
Perfect. It's back. Okay.
Yeah, there you go. Okay.
Thank you so much for having me here today. As was already said, I'm filling in for Jordan Kati, but I'm very excited to be here myself. Jessica Irwin,
I am a senior research analyst at Applied Survey Research, or ASR, and we are the external evaluators for the Birth and Beyond project. And this is what I'm here to talk about today. So this presentation is based on the Birth and Beyond evaluation and annual report for the fiscal year 22-23. So I think the agenda said we're just a little behind.
Sorry.
So by design. So fiscal year 22-23. And it's focused on milestones and the results-based accountability, or RBA framework that's been mentioned previously. And that's within the Birth and Beyond contract funded by First5 Sacramento, DCFAS, the Sacramento County Department of Human Assistance through CalWorks funding, and AmeriCorps. And this is a report covering ages 0 to 17. So keep that in mind throughout. It's ages 0 to 17. And just a little note about the review process for this report. So it's been reviewed extensively by Birth and Beyond management. It's also been presented to the community for their input, because we find that very important. And it's gone to the First5 Sacramento Evaluation Committee, as was mentioned previously. And I also want to note, this is just something to keep in mind as you look at these slides here. These are real people who participated in the services through Birth and Beyond at the 9 FRCs that are part of the Birth and Beyond network. And so it really helps bring to life the data that we're talking about, a lot more life and heart when you see these faces. That's one of my favorite pictures there. But yeah, so these are real people who have benefited immensely from all the services provided by Birth and Beyond. So I already mentioned this, and I know most of you know this in the room, but Birth and Beyond is a network of 9 family resource centers, or FRCs, that offer 4 main strategies of services. So this includes, you can see on the left here, it goes from most intensive all the way to the sort of light touch services. So first we have home visiting. This is where someone comes into the home or another agreed upon location. And then we also have group parenting education workshops. These typically meet weekly for a certain span of time, number of weeks. And then we have crisis intervention, which helps to provide resources that are really urgently needed. And this includes referrals in addition to concrete resources. And then the lightest touch services are called social emotional learning and supports, or CELS. And so these light touch services are typically used as a gateway to introduce families to the variety of strategies and services that are available at Birth and Beyond. And we see here that overall, so across all of these strategies, Birth and Beyond served almost 5,000 parents and caregivers and just over 3,000 children ages 0 to 17. And the average number of hours that they sort of had across all of these strategies in the program were 10.2 hours. So again, this is spanning the most intensive to the light touch services. You can see across the board, we have just over 1,000 adults receiving home visiting, 730 adults attending group parenting education workshops, 3,400 families with crisis intervention services, and 1,658 families receiving CELS. So we start out by talking about home visiting. Again, this is for fiscal year 22-23, and we see that the Birth and Beyond Collaborative served 964 families. Just under half were First5 funded, although again, this is covering ages 0 to 17 as a whole. So within those 964 families, it's a total of 1,045 adults and 1,200 children. So a lot of people being served. And this number is increased from the previous annual report you've heard about. And so that's great to hear. And also they conducted 772 developmental screenings, a number that's also gone up since the last time. And within those developmental screenings or ages and stages questionnaires, 18% identified a developmental need, and they were able to receive support. Referrals were then provided to those. And that's a huge number there. That is really exciting to hear. And that they were able to reach those supports they wouldn't have otherwise possibly been able to receive. And one thing of note here is that 62% of participants received additional services I should say 62% of participants who were in the home visiting program received additional services through crisis intervention. And I just note that because it's really the goal of Birth and Beyond is to be able to provide these wraparound services, be able to provide multiple different types of services to give families what they need. And 62% are also receiving those crisis intervention, urgent services, referrals, or resources. And it's not showing the direction here, so we don't know if they started in home visiting, then heard about crisis intervention, or vice versa. But it's just great to see that they are enhancing the services they provide. They're learning about other things that are available when they're in home visiting or crisis intervention. So, for example, if another thing that Birth and Beyond management has really talked a lot about is helping to prepare families for home visiting, because we want them to enter home visiting and stay, right? Get as much time in home visiting as possible, which we'll talk a little bit about in a bit. But one of the things they really thought about is, well, these families who need these really urgent, emergent services, they need crisis intervention, we should make sure that they go through that first before starting home visiting. So that, because if you're suffering from, if you're dealing with housing instability or you're having a hard time meeting your basic needs, it's really hard to focus on the curriculum of a home visiting program, right? So there's been a really intentional effort to get them through crisis intervention services first, and it's really been very beneficial for them, getting their immediate needs taken care of so that they can focus on the home visiting. So now we have a little bit about CPS outcomes. So we measure CPS outcomes based on home visiting participants. So we look at the intake date to Birth and Beyond home visiting, and then we measure 12 months after that intake date for an observation period of 1 year to see what happens at 1 year after home visiting intake. And then we partner with CPS to provide information on whether that child who participated in home visiting had a substantiated CPS allegation, again, up to 1 year after starting home visiting. And so you can see here it's separated out by service dosage for children, again, ages 0 to 17. 8 hours is what is considered historically to be the minimum amount of hours necessary in home visiting in order to see those really clear positive impacts on the family. And so we have it broken out by dosage here, but we can see here that those who had at least 24 hours in the home visiting program, they were the ones who showed drastically lower levels of CPS involvement. So this is the substantiation rate there. And we're seeing an effect for those at lower dosages as well, but it's really dramatic seeing that 0.4% substantiation rate for those who were in Birth and Beyond home visiting. Another incredible finding that I just wanted to mention but isn't shown here is that those who came into the Birth and Beyond home visiting program with a recent substantiated allegation, so they came in with that in the 6 months prior to intake to Birth and Beyond home visiting, they had 0% recurrences if they had at least 8 hours of home visiting. And that's really exciting to see that, wow, we're making a huge impact. And this is actually the second year that happened last year as well. So we're seeing a great pattern of if they get at least 8 hours, if they come in higher risk with a substantiated referral from CPS, they're seeing 0 recurrence of that in 12 months of home visiting.
Can I interrupt here? And maybe I'm stealing your thunder here with subsequent slides, but do we know what the nature of the CPS allegations are?
So that would be in the data set, but we haven't looked into
Neglect
that.
versus abuse, okay.
Yeah. So we know that those data are collected, but it's actually not presented here. But that is something that CPS collects.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions before I move on from the slide? Question?
Yeah, Commissioner Gross.
So that 8 hours, do you know if that is 8 one-hour sessions presented weekly or 4 two-hour sessions presented twice a week? Can you give me like a reality of what that looks like for our families?
So the amount of time does vary, but I think it tends to be around, and I know we do have Stephanie Beegler here, who's very good with the program-related questions, but it does tend to be 1 hour. But if it's a little less, we look at number of hours cumulatively. So in terms of the frequency of it, I would say, yeah, 8 hours weekly is what they tend to do. So,
Sorry, so that's 8 hours is 1 hour a week. So it's over 2 months they stuck with it.
sorry.
Okay, just wanted to understand that, like, as a mom, it helps me understand, like, how that really looks in someone's life. Thanks.
Commissioner Wesley.
Okay, I think it's clarification from a previous question. So the crisis intervention, is it more about having access to means? So if it's housing insecurity, food insecurities, things like that. And what I have in my thinking is around the mandated supporting piece that's coming up. So I know we don't have that data, but I'm wondering with the crisis intervention, how that ends up correlating back to the kind of supports that end up, that we are starting to provide. But you probably can't answer that at a later time.
Yeah. So we've looked at all kinds of things that can predict outcomes, but that is one. So we're happy when they receive crisis intervention services that are needed, and if they're in all these other strategies as well. But we haven't looked at really the correlation between the two. Yeah.
Commissioner Moak?
Yeah, I think, and you got Tally and Stephanie, you guys are the experts, but I think these are great questions, and I love making them real for the sake of the data. I think that two things. One, giving families as many gateways in is always the most lovely offering, right? So if that's crisis intervention, if that's coming to a group, if that's coming to an FRC, if it's coming to a parent leadership event that's at the same site, and oh my God, I learned about this, I didn't even know this was available. Like, that's one of the beauties of these doors that are created, one being crisis intervention, that they could walk in, and then once they're in, then you have the chance to show them the array of opportunities that exist for these families, depending on their situation. Mm-hmm. So that's, which I love that we added that was an added piece that came about. I think around the 8 hours, the one thing that is additionally lovely about this program in particular is that it is both science and art kind of combined. And I think that they understand that sometimes a visit has to be 6 minutes because mom's babies are crying and she hasn't eaten and her significant other kicked in the back door and like all these things happening at the same time. And they know and can come back tomorrow at 2. Versus, okay, well, I'll just see you next week. Like, the beauty of these home visitors and this particular program is its flexibility and the art that these people understand how to do this. And so, yes, 8 hours over 4, sure. But like, I go back to, sadly, whatever it is, 14 years ago, wow, that we used to talk about the fact that this program like increased certain risk factors around that as the program went on, scores would increase, things that we didn't want, use of alcohol, use of drugs. It was because these people are building, these home visitors are building these bonds and creating trust that now they're sharing. Now these families are willing to share. And I just don't want to lose the fact that that is the art of this program. The fact that that's why these numbers are what they are, because they're able to do that. They're able to build that trust over time. They're able to be flexible, and they trust their guts and their team and their leaders' guts so that they know what's needed at the moment. So sorry, again, Steve Wirtz signing off. Sorry.
You channel him well.
Thank you so much for that, though. It was really,
That's
yeah, well said.
That's good.
Right? Is there another question? Sorry.
I can't guarantee you there won't be more, but
Oh, no. I thought
please,
it was someone
please,
clearing their
please feel
throat
free to continue.
speak. So here we're seeing the CPS substantiation rates by dosage and split between Black African American versus all other races. So we've split models to look specifically at race because the interest was to decrease CPS involvement, especially among Black or African American children who have historically been overrepresented in the CPS system. So to really look at what's going on here, how can we improve things? So it was a lot of intentional effort put forth to focus on the reduction of CPS substantiations among Black African American families. And we're seeing some really promising numbers here. I'm really excited to report that Black African American birth and beyond home visiting participants exhibited lower rates of CPS involvement after participating in birth and beyond home visiting intake than all other races across all dosage categories. So the purple bar, just to orient you a little bit, is for Black African Americans, and the gray bar is for all others. So those purple bars are lower than the gray bars across the board until you get to where it says countywide. So we're seeing the opposite happen countywide, right, where the substantiation rate for Black African Americans is much higher than for those of all other races. But if you're participating in birth and beyond home visiting, you're seeing those rates decrease, especially if you look at that over 24 hours in home visiting category where it says 0% substantiation rate. And 16 to 24, 0% substantiation rate as well. So it's just showing that the longer we can keep people in the home visiting program, it seems to be even more beneficial. So that is one of the more exciting things. We do have a spotlight on the Black African American families to talk a little bit more about in a few slides, but wanted to really bring this up here because it's really an exciting finding. And again, this is all based on these intentional efforts with the cultural responsiveness initiative that Birth and Beyond put forth, and you'll see more on the next slide here, broken down by the models of home visiting. So the different home visiting models are listed at the bottom. We have Parents as Teachers, Nurturing Parenting Program, which is for parents or caregivers of children 6 to 17, Healthy Families America, and then the Reduction of African American Child Deaths, or RAACD models. So we're seeing that the CPS substantiation rates by model and split between races here. And there are a couple of things I do want to point out here before getting to those really exciting findings, so bear with me. I would like to note that for some of these groups, you see there are some pretty small sample sizes. So it looks like a dramatic difference there with that 27.3%. But again, that's only with 11 people total. So that's why it kind of looks like a jump like that. But again, I haven't gotten to the exciting part yet. Also, I wanted to note that the reduction of African American child deaths model, that's made up of an adapted Parents as Teachers model that they've adapted to be more culturally responsive. They're no longer using that model, but the data you see here are from those with an intake, again, in 2021 to 2022, March to February. And we do have to wait an entire year to observe if the family had CPS involvement then, but they were using it at this time. And then also the RAACD program, it also includes the Effective Black Parenting program as well. So then you may be asking, why is there a category there that says all other races? And I just wanted to note that it's because Birth and Beyond doesn't turn anyone away. If you wanted to participate, you could be of any race if you wanted to participate in the RAACD model. And also something else to note here is that purple bar is strictly Black or African American. It does not include those who are multiracial. They would be, in this case, in the all other races column.
We have a question by Dr. Kasiri.
Hi, I just wanted to clarify. I got a little confused as to why the x-axis has dosage hours there. Is there a difference in hours between the programs?
Oh, you know what? I just noticed it says dosage hours there, but this is for all those who had 8+ hours of home visiting. Thank you.
Thanks.
I'm looking very tiny on my screen. It's hard to see over there, but yes, thank you for clarifying that for me.
Commissioner Gross?
Sorry, it feels like it's a lot of talking from me today, too. So when you are saying Black or African American and all others, that is the race of the child, not the parent who's involved?
Yeah, so, yes. It's
So
by child.
any mixed race child does not count in your Black and African American numbers?
That is correct, yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Oh, yes, I didn't get to the exciting part. So, for Black African American families, you can see that in the PAT model, Parents as Teachers, Nurturing Parenting Program, and Healthy Families America, you can see 0% substantiation rates for those. And that is really exciting. So this is, again, for those with 8 or more hours of home visiting. And so, again, that's huge after these really intentional efforts toward just that with a culturally responsive initiative and looking at with the strong implementation of Parents as Teachers and the Nurturing Parenting Program, Healthy Families America, to model fidelity, you can see you really get those clear, strong results. Okay, and now we can turn to parenting education. So Birth and Beyond offers group parenting education workshops, and they offer mandated parenting classes that are court mandated, and they also offer voluntary parenting classes as well. So Make Parenting a Pleasure, or MPAP, we can see there that they serve 711 parents or caregivers. That one is court approved, so that's one of the reasons why you'll see that they served the vast majority of parents or caregivers. And then Nurturing Parenting Program and Effective Black Parenting, they serve 20 and 16 parents respectively. I do want to note that in case you're someone who does a lot of math in your head when you see numbers on a slide, you'll notice that 711, 20, and 16 does not add up to 730, and that is because, again, Birth and Beyond doesn't have a rule that you have to do one type, right? One type of parenting class or workshop. And so we had people, in this case, who wanted to do multiple, which is great. So that's why those numbers add up to more than 730. Those are 730 unique parents and caregivers. And in each of those categories, you have the unique number of parents who went, but they could have gone multiple times, actually. But they were experiencing multiple types of these group parenting education workshops.
Excuse me, we have a question by Dr. Kasiri.
Sorry again. I just noticed in the picture that I think these are all moms. So do you have parenting classes for dads?
I don't think they turn anyone away, but they aren't geared toward, it's not like they have like father-specific classes or anything like that.
It might be a good idea to look at that because they might be intimidated to go to a class where they're only females, but if you have one that's targeted for dads, that might help.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Thank you so much for that. Okay. And then 48% of participants received additional services through crisis intervention as well, those who received who were part of those group parenting education workshops. So again, we like to see the cross-involvement across multiple types of strategies in Birth and Beyond. And within those parenting education workshops I was just talking about, they also take a pre-test and a post-test before and after completing the course because we want to measure whether they had significant improvements in their parenting knowledge and skills after participating in these workshops. And for Make Parenting a Pleasure, that MPAP, those two bars on the left there, we did see a statistically significant increase in their parenting knowledge and skills after participating in the workshop. For the Nurturing Parenting program, there was an increase, as you see here. It's not statistically significant, but our sample size is a bit more limited, so that could have had an effect. But we did see overall increases in knowledge and skills for all of the parenting workshops, which is exciting. Now we'll move on to crisis intervention. So 3,400 families were served, and as I mentioned, crisis intervention provides both resources and referrals to families who may be in urgent or emergent situations. And this is the last year that the Family Development Matrix, or FDM, will be able to be measured because that matrix has been discontinued and replaced with a Family Builder, which was reviewed and is actually very similar. But this was the final year for the FDM, and we saw that 98% of families showed progress on at least one of their identified focal areas, meaning they showed improvement in at least one of the areas that they would like to focus on. So that was very exciting, 98%. And we saw that 18% of those in crisis intervention also participated in home visiting. So again, we're seeing that cross interaction between strategies. And now this is cells. We've mentioned cells a couple times now. These are the lightest touch support services. And you can see some examples here of them. So we have child development activities, life skill classes, peer support groups, etc. That's what we would consider cells. And over 16,000 services were provided to almost 1,700 families. And on average, families were engaged for 17.2 hours, which is really significant because these classes can be one-time classes. So they can be returning weekly classes, but they're considered to be more light touch. So 17.2 hours is great. It's showing that people want to come back and participate in multiple of these services. And as I mentioned before, their cells are really aimed at being the gateway from light touch services to everything that Birth and Beyond is able to offer. And we see that over half of those who participated in cells also participated in crisis intervention, 26% in home visiting, and 11% in parenting education workshops. So now I'm excited to talk. I mentioned before that this was coming, but I'm excited to talk about how this year specifically we conducted a spotlight on Birth and Beyond families identifying as Black or African American. And the reason for this spotlight is because of all of B&B's work with their culturally responsive initiatives, specifically focused on Black or African Americans whom they had found in the past to have lower levels of engagement in Birth and Beyond programs. So they wanted to figure out why that is. So this has been a focal group, and we've already seen, again, a couple pieces from this spotlight in the report, but we have some additional pieces to show here. So you can see here that Black or African American parents or caregivers, they made up over a quarter of all those served by all strategies across B&B, Birth and Beyond, and a higher percentage of Black or African American families participate in 2 or more strategies than all of the races in Birth and Beyond, and that's that last set of bars there, very bottom row. Now regarding parenting education, Black African American participants showed the exact same, down to the decimal point, increase in parenting knowledge and skills compared to all other races. And the only thing that's a bit more on the negative side here is that Black African American families spent less time participating in Birth and Beyond cells activities compared to all other races. So there's a difference you can see here between 12.8 hours and 18.7 hours for all of the races. But again, those numbers are still impressive given that they are the light touch services that they choose to participate in again and again. Also, the Birth and Beyond Black African American crisis intervention participants were more likely than all other races to engage in both group parenting workshops and home visiting. And now I just wanted to close my presentation with a quote from a home visiting participant that says, "Without the support of this program, this would have been impossible to achieve. We have been homeless for 6 months. Now we are doing better and have a place to raise our son." So this is one of the many quotes from Birth and Beyond participants that show the immense impact that Birth and Beyond has had on their lives, and it's very important to them. So now I'm happy to take your questions, and also I did mention Stephanie Biegler is here. She's really great at answering the program, systems-related questions, and I can address any questions you may have about the evaluation I just went over.
Great, thank you. I do have a question. Do we have, maybe Stephanie's better prepared to answer it, but do we have any ideas about what the nature of the crises are that people are seeking assistance with?
We have our data expert over here in terms of actually mentioned a lot of
Can you come to the podium, please?
Hello, I'm Rachel Harrington. I'm the data project manager for Birth and Beyond. And there's a variety of different things. As was mentioned, a lot of referrals for housing is a big item, as well as material things such as diapers, food, other things like that that are given out. But it's a wide variety of different referrals.
And we actually have the percentages or numbers tracked somewhere? Or is that kind of anecdotal?
We don't really enter that into data, the specific items, no.
If we don't, we should. Stephanie?
Yeah, let me clarify a bit too with that, is that with the new closed loop referral that First5 Sacramento just launched, Carmen, 8 months ago, that what's very important about the closed loop referral is when we make a referral to that other agency that can support the family, a closed loop referral allows us to know that that family's access the services. So to answer your question, through the closed loop referral, we do know and will know as the data collection improves where they are referred to and that they access that referral.
So by way of hypothetical or an example, someone that is suffering from housing instability could be referred to SHRA for a voucher if they qualify?
Yes.
And then that would be, you would follow up to make sure that you know the disposition of that family? Okay.
The Persimmon database will show that. Carmen is the expert on the Persimmon database.
So we've worked with Persimmon for over a year now to develop our own referral portal. And we have over 100 agencies in the referral portal, probably about 120, with various needs. We're able to run reports that tell us the needs, the types of referrals that the clients were asking for, whether the referral was accessed by the agency or the client made a connection. And then there are two ways to receive outcome data. One is self-reported. The majority of the agencies don't allow or don't accept electronic referrals. So either the client or the staff person needs to make the connection. And then self-reported through the client, we ask, or the staff ask, were you able to make a connection? And that is all recorded in Persimmon.
Thank you for that. Commissioner Katari? So I'm looking at you because I'd like to understand, I would assume that a number of the agencies that would be accepting the referral are county agencies. So are we the county, doing everything we can to help simplify and expedite whatever services are needed so that we can kind of close the loop on
Yeah, I
a
appreciate
lot of
the
this.
question, Supervisor. So, Commissioner, one of the things that the board had approved was the social health information exchange and set aside funding for that. It's in the process of being developed currently. We have a vendor. It's in progress. The idea behind a social health information exchange, which will also eventually loop with Persimmon, is that we would be able to have data collected in one space and be able to have a single record for a family or a client, so that we could see through looking in that system what services that person, that family has accessed and what their outcomes are as a result of that. So it'll give us just a more robust tool. I think Persimmon is a nice gateway into what will be eventually a bigger system that will track across all of our health services, human assistance, those types of programs, including external partners, not just the county programs.
Great. Carmen, so you mentioned there's 120?
There's the last I had checked, there were about 120.
Okay.
Between Elena and myself, we enter them into the system, so she might have entered more. But yes, over 120, and they include community-based organizations as well as county departments.
Do they also include state and federal agencies?
If they're local to Sacramento County and the client is able to access them, yes. The only agencies that are in the system are those that the client can actually call and access. We don't include anything like for information only, like, stuff like that.
Okay.
We really want to be able to capture actual referrals and not like information type of, flyer or something that's provided to the client.
And then I would assume, too, that some of our great community-based organizations and nonprofits are included, such as Weave.
Yes.
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 Yeah.
All right, very good. Commissioner Hassett.
That's what I was going to say, is we get a lot of referrals. We have counselors embedded in 5 or 6 of them now. We used to be in more, but getting those direct referrals from the home visitors.
Food bank, one of them?
Yes. And there are multiple food bank locations.
Great. Good. Thank you. Any other questions? We do have a speaker for this item. All right. If there are no questions or comments from commissioners, I'd invite Alexandria Page to the podium. Yeah.
Hello, everybody. Hello, my name is Alexandria Page. I am a former Birth and Beyond home visitor person. I don't even know how to say it, but I used to be with them. I love them so much. Birth and Beyond is one of the greatest works of Sacramento that I do know of. I did have one question on the race box thing. I want to know, why did somebody mixed with black not get put in the category of black? Because that's important, because they have black experiences. Even being mixed, you still have a black experience. That's very important. That needs to be included back in the data. And then I also wanted to say, a lot of the crises that are happening are literally basic, everyday crises. Food, home, clothes, toothbrush, socks. People can't get anywhere because of these barriers. And the barriers are the housing of Sacramento. These people are on wait lists for years. So if I go homeless today, guess what? I don't have a home. What? The county's gonna give me an emergency voucher for 16 days, and then after that, I'm homeless still. So it's housing in Sacramento in these wait lists. People are trying to live with each other out on these streets. The number one crisis is housing. Nobody can think rent, no rent. It's a struggle for everybody in every demographic. That is the problem. Nobody can even function to participate and get anybody's numbers and data up because everybody's mentally losing it. And that's all I wanted to say. But then again, thank you so much for the Birth and Beyond work that you guys do.
Thank you. Does someone want to respond to the mixed race question?
Thank you so much for that. That's a really...
And bring the microphones together.
Oh, certainly. Go ahead.
Thanks.
Oh, okay.
Oh, you want me to go?
You can go.
Okay. In terms of Black only versus multiracial, when we have always done it as a Black family because that is easy. We identify it, it goes into the database, and we could, though, do a multiracial. But when you have multiracial, we do this in our child death review team report, it would be more than one, obviously more than one race. So historically, that's what we've done. And you can speak from the data perspective.
Yeah, I was just going to say that the
Persimmon.
data, in
Right.
Persimmon, and also when we're comparing to countywide numbers and things like that, they just put multiracial. They don't tell us what that makeup is. And so it ends up being impossible for us to tease that apart if we don't have if they just categorize them in the countywide system as multiracial. And it is a huge problem, as you said. Right. It would be ideal for us to have that teased apart so that we could add them. Right. And acknowledge their Black experiences, of course.
And the other piece that I wanted to add, when the Child Death Review Team did its 20-year report, and it's nice that I'm looking at you, Supervisor Cerna, with all the work that you did on that, we did not do multiracial in there because of the complexity of the data collection and the data reporting. So the RAACD work is all African American and not multiracial. So I wanted to add that in addition to what Jessica said, that was a decision and a priority based on the data at that time. And to be consistent with that, that is how we continue to report it. Gotcha. It also aligns with the data collection from birth certificates as well as death certificates. So the continuum of a child's life in our county is with that categorization.
Thank you for that explanation.
If I can add, I'm sorry, Carmen Garcia Gomez. If I can add, in Persimmon, we do collect ethnicity. And one of the, as Stephanie and Jessica said, is multiracial. What we were finding was that a lot of the multiracial included like Asian and white or Asian and something else. And so when we worked on the RAACD report, we were able to tease out those multiracials if we saw that the parents were Black, African American. So then we would include the child in there. But it was, I'll definitely look to see if there's a way that we can capture those multiracial, specifically those that are, Black, African American. It might include changing some forms, but we can certainly look into doing that.
Thank you, Carmen. Commissioner Wesley.
Okay. Yeah, okay. I'm glad to hear that, because I hate to go back to the old history of the one drop rule. I really hate to do that. But if you are mixed race and Black, you're 9 times out of 10 identify and have a lived experience of being Black. So how you live your life every single day is impacted in that way, if that makes any sense. And I did have a question on that. I didn't understand it, and I'm hearing that it aligns with child death rates and birth certificate identification. I know I was a child of the 70s. I don't want to tell you what my birth certificate says, but I just have grandchildren who are of mixed race, but they present as Black, but they're Asian, they're Cambodian, they're South Asian, East Asian, they're Cambodian, Vietnamese, they're Black, but they have a lived experience right now so far as Black. So, yeah, it's important maybe, is there a question to ask the families how they identify? Because that also might be a stronger indicator of their lived experience. How do they identify in their everyday walk of life is also a good indicator. So emotional. So that might be something, to think about, because it's going to impact the data. And I know we're living with antiquated systems, but we got to bring them up to date. And make it right so that you guys can get good data so that we could give them good services. And I know that our hearts are in the right place. We just got to get these tech folk, whatever it is causing the hiccups, we got to make it right. And then I'm just thinking about us moving away from criminalizing poverty when it hits families, and I know that we're trying to do that work too, and I know it. I only have gotten here for a little while, but we don't want to criminalize poverty, and it sounds like the groups that are falling into the crisis category are impacted by financial insecurity, housing instability, food insecurity. So it'd be interesting to see how we can try to qualify and quantify what are those needs around. Someone was saying the diapers, the housing, the food, what is it exactly is a hardship for them, so that we can know to better support them. And it sounds like we do have some of those supports, the food bank, weave, and all those things, but the more we know, the better we can identify those supports and make sure they're adequately funded, and then make sure we can do the referral pathways to do that. And I know I'm preaching to the choir, but just to be on record.
Mr. Gross?
I just want to clarify, sorry, when you said that you're using the birth, or in line with the birth and death certificate data, that's specifically for when we're looking at African American child death, correct?
That's correct.
So these numbers that we're looking at for the parenting classes are self-report information? So,
yes.
Okay, so if a black mom comes in and she says, me and my baby are black, then no one is going and saying, but what does dad look like, right? Okay, so that gives me just a little more perspective on this. Thanks.
Oh, thank you.
And also to share, I just got some information. Last year, 9% of those served were multiracial.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Commissioner Kasiri.
I just wanted to clarify that the birth certificates do separately list the parents and their ethnicity. I think it's a matter of whether in the analysis you are pulling it out separately. But otherwise, it is listed separately.
Great. Thank you. Commissioner Kotari.
Thank you. I also just wanted to lift up the work that Child Welfare Services is doing in terms of linking those families that do come to the attention with a crisis, whether it's diapers or housing or whatever it is, and that they're not automatically seen as a family who is neglecting their child. First and foremost, they're seen as a family who needs resources. So I think the field of child welfare has come a long way in the last 20 and 30 years. So I wanted to compliment that team for their connection to the services that we're talking about today.
Thank you.
And if I could just add to that, the slide went away, but what we did have in the presentation was the percentage of referrals to Birth and Beyond, specifically home visitation, that we have received from our partners at Child Welfare. And that's very important because, as you say, that indicates that Child Protective Services really wants to make sure that families receive services in the community and in their neighborhood. And as Commissioner Moak said, Birth and Beyond always envisioned itself, and we're very pleased that the vision is alive today as a multifaceted neighborhood resource center, and it's important that we engage families across the continuum of services, not just for crisis intervention. Those cells, those social, emotional, and support services mean they feel comfortable. As Commissioner Moak said, they are building trust within that family resource center, and even if they stop home visitation services, we want to make sure the family sees their neighborhood family resource center as a trusted location in the hubs of their neighborhoods that they can easily access and hopefully receive the services they need, so that, as our data indicates, and we're very proud of the substantiated reductions to child welfare, that we can go ahead and serve them at the FRC. And on behalf of the Birth and Beyond Collaborative, since I'm your designated spokesperson today, we want to extend our heartfelt gratitude, the support of this commission. I get emotional about this too, been doing this work for decades. Without the support of the First5 Commission, Birth and Beyond would never have been able to realize the vision that we had for it back in 1996 and 97, when the Board of Supervisors said, we got to go ahead and make sure we're supporting families before they end up in child welfare. And want to thank also Michelle Callejas for her leadership. She is not here today, in working with us and her team, of which is Melissa, Kim, and Billy that are here today, that really work with Birth and Beyond, for allowing us to partner with them. And I will do a Commissioner Wirtz comment, if that's okay, and then I really will stop talking, is that the whole point of the evaluation and us presenting to you is that we do receive your comments. We take that into consideration. We work with Jessica and Jordan and others at ASR. Now it sounds like we will be working closer with Persimmon, and thank you so much for your comments about housing, that we take that data and we make certain that we improve the program. And that was one of the reasons why we wanted to highlight the results of the African American families that we have served. We have had a culturally responsive initiative in Birth and Beyond for about 8 years now, and we really felt that it was time to go ahead and to say, what difference is that particular initiative making? And through the many strategies that we have, we are proud that we can indicate through this report that we are making a difference. And I will end in this next year. The evaluation for Birth and Beyond will be a quasi-experimental design, which means we will work further with ASR and CPS, and we will be able to do some data matching on a control group and on a treatment group, and see the difference that Birth and Beyond services can make in a more rigorous evaluation than what you've been presented today. So thank you.
Thank you. No one else in the queue, so I'll take this opportunity to first of all say thank you back to everyone responsible for making our Birth and Beyond sites the successes that they are. I'm a huge fan and believer in the mission of Birth and Beyond and our FRCs. And since I'll be chairing the Board of Supervisors, presumably next year, I would encourage you to think carefully about a report like this on the exact same agenda as our budget in June. I think that would be good for all 5 of us on the board to hear and be reminded of the investment that is made and the return that we get, just to kind of put it in its coldest terms. But especially, when we begin to see on the horizon perhaps a challenging economic condition where we really have to think carefully about our priorities. I never want to see that we forget or dismiss the fact that the county does a lot of things. The county builds your roads, takes care of your parks, takes care of those that need a lot of things in life. But when it comes to kids and families, this is, indisputable in terms of the value that we get. And so it's important that we highly rank as a top priority the continued success of Birth and Beyond. And if I had my druthers, we'd have more FRCs. We'd have more programming to make sure that families succeed. So I just really want to kind of end it there and thank you all, and look forward to coordinating with you, Stephanie, next year when we agendize that.
We will. Thank you very much.
Thanks. Okay. No more public speakers on this item.
No more.
Okay. Next item.
Next item is another presentation from the WIC Lactation Support Program.
Okay.
We're going to be joined by our WIC leadership, which is Lisa Matthews and Amelia Schendel.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. It is my honor to first say Happy World Breastfeeding Week and National Breastfeeding Month. And I am pleased to share some of our wonderful successes that we've had over this last year. And one of them is that our exclusive breastfeeding rate has been averaging the highest level it's ever been at 27.6%. And this is approximately a 2.5 increase over the last 2 years. So we've definitely seen some wonderful increases in our exclusive breastfeeding rate, and that's for infants of all ages, so looking at them together in a group. We've also been seeing the highest rate of breastfeeding in any amount, so kind of our combo feeders where they do breastfeeding and some formula feeding. We are at nearly half of all infants providing some amount of mom's breast milk. So that is also something that we've seen great increases over the last several years. So wanted to celebrate all of that with you. Secondly, the Sacramento County WIC program was awarded the USDA WIC Breastfeeding Award of Excellence, the Premier Award, which recognizes WIC agencies with a breastfeeding peer counseling program that provides mother-to-mother support, but also has strong collaborative partnerships with outside organizations. And so the USDA sees the Sacramento County peer counseling program that we have as a model agency for other WIC agencies in California to see our great practices and do something very similar to what we're doing. So wanted to share that with you. And lastly, I wanted to share with you the video that WIC recently produced in partnership with Sacramento County Public Health regarding our lactation program. This video was created to show partners and the community the wonderful lactation services that we have available at WIC. And I also want to allow Amelia Schendel to say a few words.
Good afternoon. I just want to say thank you. Our partnership started in 2002, and here we are 22 years later, and we've accomplished a lot and that we could have never done without your help. So you provided the foundation, we had the passion, you had the passion and the support, and we're just really excited to break through this exclusive breastfeeding rate. We started at 6%. When we first started. So this is really huge. And we kind of plateaued for a long time. And now we have a huge demand for WIC services, unprecedented. We have never seen this before to this extent. You all know it's everybody. It's kind of like what you were saying. We're saying the same thing. So despite this huge demand for WIC services, the staff are working so hard. We're short-staffed. And despite all of that, we still got the breastfeeding rates to increase. So we're very excited about it. So I just want to say thank you, and hope you enjoy the video.
Thank you.
Metro Cable, please cue the video.
In Sacramento County, 93% of mothers initiate breastfeeding in the hospital. But without additional lactation support, unfortunately, only 40% breastfeed when they get home.
The Community Lactation Assistance Project was created in 2002 to help mothers reach their short and long-term breastfeeding goals and to bridge the gap in county lactation support services. Every year, CLA lactation consultants and helpline staff assist over 1,000 mothers who lack sufficient information or resources to effectively breastfeed their babies. Consultants are available at each of our permanent sites. Services are timely, culturally responsive, and focused on addressing health inequities in the community. Our goal is for you to have a successful breastfeeding experience and a happy, healthy baby. Questions and concerns are addressed during an in-depth assessment, and we offer ample opportunities for ongoing follow-up care. Our helpline acts as an additional safety net for parents who have urgent breastfeeding questions or concerns.
No one in my immediate family had ever breastfed, and so nobody knew how it was done. And with the LCs, they showed me and gave me that education and support to be able to breastfeed.
WIC offered me the ability to see the same lactation consultant each time, which meant that the lactation consultant was more familiar with the unique issues that my baby and I were experiencing and was able to provide more personalized care.
Breastfeeding reduces the risk of chronic diseases, strengthens immunity to infections, and promotes bonding between mothers and infants.
WIC support increased my self-confidence in exclusively breastfeeding without the support of formula use, and allowed my baby to receive enzymes, antibodies, and essential nutrients from my breast milk alone.
Parents take less time off work to care for sick children, and hospitalization rates are lower among breastfed babies. We offer support as you prepare for birth, through the first days with your infant, and later on as you navigate new routines and challenges at home, at work, and in the community.
While our breastfeeding journey was very difficult, pushing through all the challenges that we had was so worth it to see how healthy my baby is at 10 months. She's thriving, her weight is in the 90th percentile, and she's just happy and healthy.
Breastfeeding is an individual journey with alternating feelings of joy, accomplishment, and frustration. But at the end, it's all worth it.
Sacramento County residents may call our breastfeeding helpline before or after your baby's arrival to receive answers to your questions and/or to set up an appointment with a certified lactation consultant.
Great video. So, not to be Debbie Downer here, but to what extent do the numbers that we're all delighted and excited to note, to what extent does the cost and the availability of formula have on those numbers, if any?
I can answer in part. So I do think that one of the catalysts for this recent increase was as a result of the infant formula shortage, which really put into parents' minds, okay, formula isn't always easily accessible, it may not be safe, that type of thing. And so I think that did kind of help maybe turn a tide in some parents' minds of, hey, I really do need to get this breastfeeding going well, and I need to seek the help to do that.
It's a constant battle. If I had my way, I'd really change things, but it's way beyond
You make formula
my
really,
pay
really
grade.
expensive?
This goes all the way up to Congress. This is a little high up.
Oh, let's not send them something to do.
Yeah, it's a battle, but that's why I've always said, you know what, it's kind of like WIC is like ground zero, because that's where the battle is. The formula is available, and we can't deny it, and so now we're having to use every tool possible to say, we'll help you, we'll support you, but what is the barrier? How can we help you?
And to what extent are we noting, the behavior of our pediatricians, or, when mom and baby leave the hospital after delivery, what kind of messaging are they delivering, the folks with the white coats with the stethoscope? Not that you aren't, incredibly important to this, but I can see, perhaps a good number of folks that have to hear certain things from their doctor. So how is that being managed or documented?
That's a great question. So I know that Community Resource Project WIC houses the regional breastfeeding liaisons for our area. And so when we do hear things reported from families about, oh, okay, this doctor recommended this, which doesn't necessarily support breastfeeding and could be done a different way. We then send out these regional breastfeeding liaisons to those providers and say, hey, here are some common breastfeeding messages. How can we get on the same page? What other additional information is needed in education?
And it has changed a lot over the years. It was a huge battle years ago. Now we have a lot of doctors, more doctors are on board, especially being members of the Academy of Breastfeeding Medicine. We have a lot of pediatricians are really on board because they see the difference. So they tend to be our biggest supporters. But with that said, you're going to see your doctor and he's got 10 minutes, 5 minutes, and there's no way he can assess a breastfeeding situation. And sometimes it's like, well, we got to make sure this baby's eating. We don't want this baby to die. So it's like, okay, can of formula. That way, everybody's covered here. But a breastfeeding assessment could take anywhere from 30 minutes to 60 minutes. Especially if you're going to assess the feed on each breast, which what we do, a thorough assessment, and not all hospitals do that.
Our healthcare systems here regionally, are they equipped with written information that WIC provides so that at least mom and baby, when they go home, they have something to refer to document all the health benefits from breastfeeding?
I believe a lot of the health systems do have their own educational materials, but we do have our own materials on our website or the CDPH WIC website that are easily accessible as well.
And what we found over the years, and we didn't find this personally, but UC Davis, they've done a lot of research and studies, and they found out that everybody knew the benefits. It's kind of like we all know it's not healthy to eat at McDonald's, right? But we still do. So it's the same thing. Moms are like, well, I'm homeless. This is my life. I'm like trying to survive. I'm trying to keep this baby alive. So it's like, WIC will give me free formula. This doesn't fit in my life. And so our change ever since, for years now, our thrust has been using motivational interviewing, finding out, okay, where are you? What is your challenge? What's your barrier? Finding out where each person is. They're the experts in their lives, and how can we support them and make this happen? So it's not, they already know breast is best. Now it's like, well, what do we do to survive? So that's where you come in. That's where we come in. That's why it was my dream and my vision to have lactation consultants at every site, because it's not about, I know how to do this. I know how to lose weight. I need someone to actually, help me with my meal planning and, whatever, if you get it.
I do want to mention that we also have postcards for our breastfeeding helpline that we do provide to the hospitals, so that can be given out to families as well. So an easy access to get that number to us.
And ENS.
Very good.
And then also we do have that emergency or early notification system, so that Medi-Cal eligible parents can let us know that, hey, I do want breastfeeding support post-discharge, and those referrals get sent to us. We have one of our staff call them triage, and then get them into the services that they need.
And that's really, really effective, because they're in the hospital, they gave birth, and now the hospital sends us the information, so we know right away, okay, this person just had their baby, so we'll follow up with a phone call. Hey, how are you doing? How's it going? Do you need help?
All 4 systems are doing that?
Most. So we have Sutter, Mercy San Juan, Methodist, and Kaiser South is our recent add-on. We are planning to add UC Davis as well.
Cool. Just real quick, I just want to say, Amelia, your presence here at these commission meetings every single month for what feels like a decade or more is not unnoticed, and we do appreciate what you bring to not just our community but here as well. And I can't imagine there being a better advocate for this particular line of work than you. We are so lucky in this region to have you there for all these moms and babies. And I know we've been lucky to have you as part of the First 5 family for a really long time. So if there's three things we can count on. It's Steve Wirtz saying comments and questions. It is Stephanie Biegler in the audience, and it is Amelia Schendel in the audience. So, and that's 15 plus years running, I think. So,
Thank you for your very kind words. I'm honored.
Julie?
Thought I should also bring up a channel Steve Wirtz and just say those baby-friendly hospitals that First 5 invested in a decade ago, a small, tiny drop in the bucket of $25,000 each in order to bring them along to become baby-friendly, also led to a lot of other things like the notification system and all the other stuff. So it's a good thing that First 5 did way back when.
Thank you for noting that. And Commissioner Gross.
I just wanted to let you know that every time I've ever been pregnant over the last 11 years, which is a lot of times, at one of the first appointments, either around 7 weeks or 12 weeks, depending on when you get in to see the doctor, at Kaiser, they have given me a sheet that is like, are you sure you don't qualify for WIC? Like, you need to follow up. Do you know that WIC provides food while you're gestating, food while you're breastfeeding, food for your baby, lactation support? So just in your question of like, what are parents getting? At least at Kaiser, there is no paper that tells me here are the 12 different kinds of formula you can get at Target, but there is, the paper about what classes do you want to take to prepare for birth. There's a paper that's how do you get ready for your big ultrasound, and there's the WIC paper in the folder every time. So just that is happening at Kaiser, at least.
Great. Thank you. All right. Thanks again. No action on this item.
No, sir.
Okay. All right. We are at the conclusion of our meeting. This is the opportunity that commissioners have to bring up, mention anything they would like to note. I will just remind folks that as it is with every first Tuesday in August, we enjoy National Night Out tomorrow. And for several years now, the First District, district I have the honor of representing, has held what is, I think, come to be expected, a pretty large gathering at Jack Davis Park in the South Oak Park community, just a few streets down from one of our FRCs. And so would certainly invite folks to come and join us. We typically have, I don't know, probably a couple dozen county agencies represented, a number of nonprofits. Aaron has reminded me that while we may not have a First 5 table, we will have plenty of First 5 swag to distribute. And it's always a great opportunity for me to see my constituents and literally be able to kind of direct them to different parts of the park to get their questions answered and maybe even educate them a bit about what the county does and what we can do for you. And certainly that extends to First 5 and some of the other sister agencies that I have a affiliation with. So National Night Out, if it's not at Jack Davis Park for the First District, there are, it's a national. So it's there are going to be events scattered all over the place. It typically runs 5:30 to 7:30. Some neighborhoods have ice cream socials. Others have a barbecue cookout. And it really, the inception of it was years ago was to bring law enforcement and the community together so that that relationship kind of had a centerpiece event to work around, but it's become, I think, much more than that. Certainly our Sheriff's Department will be there as well as probation and SAC PD, but it really is, I think, a great opportunity for people to meet each other and for them to also understand much more about the local government and governance that is intended to serve them. So looking forward to that. Hope to see you there. Any other questions or comments? All right, if there's no further business, we are adjourned.